Welcome to the RRG Sport Channel. Now, this is my end of season review for the 25-26 Premier League season. And obviously, yesterday was the last day of the season. So, start from the beginning. Arsenal are the champions, finishing on 85 points to secure their first Prem title in 22 years. Congratulations to Arsenal and the Arsenal fans, unfortunately. Obviously, Man City finished second on 78 points, and more importantly, it's an end of an era. Pep Guardiola is leaving Man City after 10 years in charge. After 20 trophies at the helm, he's won 20 trophies in 10 years. I mean, that's staggering. But yeah, big change ahead for Man City. I think Maresca is coming in. There will be an adjustment period for sure. I'm pretty confident that Arsenal will probably retain the title next year. But yeah, congratulations to Arteta. He's finally got Arsenal over the line on his fourth attempt and won the big trophy he desperately needed. Let's not sugarcoat it. If Arsenal came second again, I think there'd be serious question marks over his future. But they won, so, and they're also in the Champions League final against PSG, so they could actually win the Prem. Well, they've won the Prem. They could also win the Champions League, which would be probably Arsenal's best ever season. Probably that would beat the Invincibles for sure. I mean, winning a Premier League and winning the Champions League, which they've never done. Yeah, you would go down as your best manager ever, generally. So yeah, the general Arsenal mood going into next season will be extremely high. I think there is a strong possibility they'll probably retain, just for the fact that Pep's left City and everyone else is so weak. I mean, it's so weak. Now that brings me on to who finished third, Man United, who've had a relatively good season. Third on 71 points. Michael Carrick came in after the board sacked Ruben Amorim. It just didn't work out, did it, with Amorim, unfortunately. But Michael Carrick did a pretty good job. He's got given the manager job. I think he's on a 2-year contract, which doesn't exactly spell they got much encouragement in him, in my opinion. But I think that's quite sensible, actually, because after Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, they saw how that went. Carrick is still at risk. Champions League football next year. They do need a lot of players, Man United. They've got barely any midfielders. I mean, Casemiro leaving this year leaves them with Fernandes, Ugarte, and Kobe Mainu, and that's it. So that they could do with like 3 new centre midfielders. They probably need a new left back. They need a new striker to back up Sesko. They need a lot of players, Man United. They really do. And if they don't get that midfield sorted out, they could be in serious problems next year. They would struggle in 4 competitions. They would struggle a lot. So yeah, they have to have a very good summer this year. Right, moving on to fourth, and that is Unai Emery's Aston Villa. What a manager this man is. For me, contender for manager of the season. Won the Europa League. Guaranteed Champions League football for next year. It finished fourth as well, which also guarantees Champions League football anyway. They were hit with quite a few injuries throughout the season, and they pulled through. But again, it's another team that need to significantly invest in the squad because bringing in Sancho and Tammy Abraham, just very uninspiring moves they were. Need to bring in a few fresh faces, some quality, and I think Villa will push on next season. Probably get Champions League again, I actually think. I'm pretty sure, because in 5th place is defending champions Liverpool. What on earth? And more importantly, how has Slot still got a job? Like, the Liverpool have been horrific this year. The man looks lost. Like, I'm shocked Liverpool didn't try and get Alonso in. Honestly, I think he would have been perfect for Liverpool. But he's gone to Chelsea now, so yeah, it looks like you're sticking with Slot. Which, if I was a Liverpool fan, I'd be so worried about that. I just don't think the man's got what it takes. I mean, he won the league last year with the remaining players that Klopp had. And and now most of those players are gone now. I mean, Salah has dropped off a cliff. Andy Robertson's going to leave this summer. There's talks Alisson might leave as well. That great Liverpool team of old under Klopp is gone, quite frankly. They need to bring in a lot of new players this summer, Liverpool. New centre back, a new left back, a right wing to replace Salah. Van Dijk is old now and has had quite a poor season. He's not going to get back to the quality he was. I just don't see Liverpool challenging for a title on the slot, and I would not be surprised if he is sacked next year. I'm shocked that they haven't got rid of him this summer, or they don't plan to, which is odd to me because it just seems obvious that he just isn't the man. He just isn't the dude. I don't know what it is with Dutch managers, but they all suck. I mean, Ten Hag sucked. Slot, yeah, he won the league, but not with his own team. He's built a team and they suck. It's just, bad. Right, moving on, because I can go on about Liverpool for a while. Sixth place is Bournemouth. They've had an incredible season under Iraola. Got Europa League football next season for the first time in their history. Unfortunately, Iraola has decided to move on after the campaign, which is a shame because I thought he was really building something there at Bournemouth. But again, it is Bournemouth. I think Europa League is probably as far as he could probably get them because they are a small club. And I'm sure he will get a big job. He will get a Champions League job for sure in the very near future. But yeah, he's probably up there as well for manager of the season, along with Unai Emery as well. Very good manager. Seventh place and manager of the year, in my opinion, Regis Lebris' Sunderland. What a campaign they've had. They're a newly promoted side. And not only have they survived, he's also got them Europa League football in the first season. And they also did the double over Newcastle. It's staggering. Absolutely staggering. I've never seen a promoted team do as well as this Sunderland side has done in like 25 years. I've never seen it. It's such a good job he's done. And that I think Sunderland are the blueprint now of what you need to do to actually survive the Premier League when you come up. I think a lot of promoted teams will be studying this Sunderland side. It's exactly how on earth they pulled this off. I think they will be fine next season. They do need to invest quite heavily in the squad because they will be playing 4 competitions with the Europa League. And that can be a struggle for a lot of teams that are not used to it. But I'm sure they'll be fine in the league. I don't think they'll be relegated or anything like that. I think they'll be fine. Right, moving on to 8th place, Brighton. Again, fantastic season. They will play in the Conference League, I believe, next season. I think they might go and win that competition next year because they are just an extremely well-run club, if not one of the best run clubs in the Premier League. They buy good players quite young. They build them up. They sell them on for ridiculous amounts. Yeah, Brighton are going to be fine next year. 8th is a very good finish for them. They might even do a little bit better next year, but it's small margins at Brighton. 9th place, Brentford. A good season for Brentford after losing Thomas Frank to Spurs and giving their job, I believe, to their set piece coach. I know a lot of people thought they would go down this year. They lost a lot of good players as well. And Mbeumo moved on. Tony moved to Saudi League. Keith Andrews has done a very good job at keeping them, the top half of the table. Hats off to the guy. I have no idea how they'll do next year. Who knows? I think they'll be fine. All right, 10th, one of the big shocks of the season. Chelsea. What has happened to this club? Started the season with Maresca. Got rid of him because he fell out with the board. Brought in a yes man in Liam Rosenior, who, let's be honest, was probably one of the worst Chelsea managers in their history. That the man was literally a gym teacher. Yeah, the Chelsea team is just it's just been so average this year. And really, I mean, you look at their team. I mean, they've got Cole Palmer, Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez. They should be doing better. I think the only person that can hold their head up is João Pedro, who's actually had a good goal scoring season, but for some reason hasn't been called up to the Brazil squad. Yeah. But anyway, it's not all bad news for Chelsea fans because you have brought in Xabi Alonso, who is a very good manager, and he will. I expect he will be given the power to actually fix this Chelsea team. So I expect them to be sort of battling, considering they won't have any Europe football next year. You won't be in the Champions League, you won't be in the Europa League, no Conference League. You're going to have a straight run at it, just like United did this year. I expect Alonso to get Champions League football next year, 100%. I would be surprised if they didn't get or at some sort of Europe competition next year. So overall, bad season for Chelsea, but I can see Alonso turning it around quite quick, very quickly. Right, 11th place, Marco Silva's Fulham. Quite a boring season, really, if you're a Fulham fan. Mid-table finish. Need to add a bit more to their squad this summer, I think, so they can try and push out of mid-table mediocrity. Mediocrity. I can't say it. They need to push out of mid-table, basically. And if they don't add to the squad with a bit more quality, they could see themselves sink further down the league next year, and then that's when you're in dangerous territory. So yeah, they need to try and push on a little bit, Fulham. 12th, another shock this season. Eddie Howe's Newcastle. They've been terrible this season. I think they're going to lose a lot of their best players this year. I think Eddie Howe is a very lucky boy to still have his job. I mean, Sunderland did the double over them this year, and for many Newcastle fans, that's probably a sackable offence in itself. Yeah, well, worrying times, the richest club on the planet. But yeah, I think Tonali, a lot of question marks that he might leave. Bruno Guimaraes also, he might leave. Left winger, what's his face? I don't actually rate him that highly, but he might be going to Bayern Munich for some reason. I don't actually rate him. Gordon, that's the one. Yeah, apparently 75 million to Bayern Munich. I don't really get what the fuss is about him. He's got pace, and that's about it. He's basically the English Daniel James. I mean, that's all he is. But yeah, I expect Newcastle to be better next year, but it does depend on if they lose their best players and who they bring in to replace them with. I think Eddie Howe's a very lucky man to still be in that job. But I think next year, if he doesn't pull it around, if they don't get some sort of European competition or win something, he could get sacked. All right, 13th, David Moyes at Everton. I think the season was always going to be a bit of a struggle going into their new stadium, but I'm quite confident with a few quality signings in the summer, Everton will push on next year. Moyes is a capable manager. Yeah, I know. I know people. A lot of people don't like him. A lot of people think he's stale. But he gets the job done. He gets the job done, and I think he'll be fine for Everton for the next couple seasons. So they just get used to their new stadium. They just need to bring in some bit more quality, and then they can move on from Moyes. In fact, Areola wouldn't be a bad shout for Everton, actually. The ex-Bournemouth manager wouldn't be a bad shout at all, but I think Moyes will be there for at least another couple seasons. I think they'll be fine. Right, 14th, Daniel Farke's Leeds. Very good season for Leeds. They have stayed up, and that would have been their objective for this year. Again, they need to bring in some good players this summer to cement their hope of staying up next season, but I think they'll be fine. I mean, if I was their owners, I'd be looking at that West Ham squad and thinking, Jared Bowen, probably, you could probably try and get him. Somerville as well, because West Ham have been relegated, and I don't think they'll be able to keep hold of their best players, and they'll have to sell them at a reasonable price. So yeah, there's some good signings to be had from that West Ham team, to be fair. But yeah, as long as they invest well, I think Leeds will be fine next year. But yeah, very good season for them. I think they got into the semi-final of the FA Cup this year as well, didn't they? So yeah, Daniel Farke did some good stuff this year. Right, 15th, Crystal Palace. Average season really in the league. They are in the Conference League final though, which is a good thing for them. Glasner has done well in that side of things. Obviously, he's leaving at the end of the season. I think Palace might be in a bit of trouble next year. To be honest, it depends on who they get in as the new manager. But I do think they struggled this year. And if they don't get the manager appointment correct, I think they might get relegated next year. I think winning the Conference League gets them into the Europa League, I believe, which would put more strain on their squad like it has done this year, except Europa League is harder than the Conference League. Yeah, I worry about Crystal Palace next year. I really do. I think they could be in trouble. 16th, Nottingham Forest. They've had. I don't really know how to explain Nottingham Forest because you look at it 16th, you go, oh, that's a good season for them. But at the end of the day, last season they finished like 8th or something. Under Santo, and it's been a disaster of a season. I mean, they've had 3 managers. I mean, luckily they hit form at the end, and they got out of danger. But yeah, weird one, Nottingham Forest. I think Morgan Gibbs-White, their best player, top scoring Englishman this year, not in the World Cup squad for some reason. But yeah, I think Forest will be fine next year. I think they'll be a lot higher than 16th, bring in a few more quality players. I think they'll be fine. 17th, Spurs on 41 points. Again, second time in 2 years Spurs have finished 17th. This time, nearly got relegated on the last day. It was that close. If they lost against Everton, they would be in Championship next year. Yeah, well, I don't know what's happened to Spurs over the last couple of years. I mean, their transfers have been shocking. Their managers have been shocking. I mean, Frank, he was just, they brought him in from Brentford, and he was terrible. And they didn't sack him when they should have sacked him. They waited late. Then they brought in Tudor, who was terrible as well. Sacked him, and then they got De Zerbi in, who's just about managed to save their season on the last day. Serious questions have to be asked at the board. They've been awful. They've been terrible at their jobs. Nearly a massive disaster for Spurs. I mean, it would have been the second biggest thing to happen in the Premier League if they got relegated, just under Leicester winning the league. Yeah, they've got a serious rebuild to do, Spurs. I mean, a lot of that squad just isn't good enough. Richarlison isn't good enough. God, I'm having a mind blank. Romero, terrible captain. Maddison's injured all the time. Klosevsky injured as well. Tell, young but inexperienced, didn't really show up for the last couple games. Yeah, their squad is just, it's average. Very, very, very average. Paulinho, I think he's on loan. I actually think he did all right. They need serious investment, Spurs. Serious investment. I mean, Xavi Simons, terrible. Yeah, Van der Ven, I don't know. I mean, I think he might stay now since you're staying in the league. But again, yeah, big question marks on that squad. Big question marks over the ownership as well. It'd be interesting to see what they do in the transfer market, Spurs, because they need a lot of players. Right, moving on to 18th, and the first relegated team, of course, is West Ham on 39 points. 2 points off Spurs in the end. Yeah, I generally feel sorry for the West Ham fans. Their owners suck. Sullivan, the rest of them, terrible. I mean, their stadium, the Olympic Stadium, is a terrible stadium. It's not even a football stadium. The fans are like a mile away from the pitch. Atmosphere is just, yeah, I feel bad for West Ham. it does make me think, well, what happened to the £100 million they got for Declan Rice? Where did that money go? I mean, they've just spent it on terrible players who just haven't been good enough. I mean, they brought in what Graham Potter they had at the start of the season, terrible. They brought in Santo. He did okay, but I think it was too late. Should have brought him in earlier. Yeah, it is worrying times for West Ham. They're probably, I know they're in debt for like £100 million as well. The TV revenue will drop off a cliff now because they're in the Championship. Jared Bowen will probably be sold. Somerville will probably be sold. Fernandez will probably be sold. A lot of their best players will probably leave. I think they will struggle coming back up next season. I really do. Unless, yeah, I don't know. I just don't know. I mean, yeah, it's a tough one. I think ideally, the ownership will just sell up and new owners will come in and actually run the club properly because their ownership's just terrible. Right, moving on, 19th, Burnley. Scott Parker is once again relegated. I'd quite like to see what he could do with a team with an actual transfer budget, because Burnley are just a Championship team with no investment, and they're never going to stay up. Burnley. I mean, it doesn't matter who's in charge of that Burnley team. There's just not enough investment. Just plain and simple. They might come back up next year. I hope not, because I just think they're just so boring. So no one wants to see Burnley go back up, except Burnley supporters, of course. They're just so boring, man. They don't invest enough, and I'm sick of seeing them in the Prem because all they do is just go back down straight. I mean, it's boring. 20th and last is Wolves. This is what happens when you sell your best players year after year and do not replace them with, decent players. This is what happens when you have bad ownership. This has been coming for a long time. Will they get promoted next year back to the Prem? I don't think they will. I think they will struggle. I think they'll be stuck in mid-table mediocrity for a couple seasons. Yeah, I don't know. It all depends on the ownership. Ownership will let them down massively. Yeah, if I was a Wolves fan, I would probably hope that the ownership just sells up. Someone else comes in. Yeah, I don't see them coming back up at all. But yeah, that is my end of season review. Some big shocks in there this year. I mean, Arsenal winning the league, Pep leaving, Spurs nearly getting relegated, Sunderland getting Europa League, Bournemouth getting Europa League for the first time in their history. Chelsea not getting anything at all. Newcastle being terrible. It's been quite an eventful season this year, I have to say. But yeah, that's been my Premier League review of the 25-26 season. More content will be coming out. Of course, the World Cup starts very soon. Very, very soon. I will be covering that as well, along with transfer rumours as well for all the Prem teams. If you liked, subscribe, like, and yeah. I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.